Well, a very good morning and welcome back to the Tour de Ski. We have gone from Valmesterre to Oberstdorf, the venue, of course, for the World Championships back in 1987 and again in 2005. Two great championships, and it's a great venue for the Tour de Ski, one in which Andrew Musgrave of Great Britain generally does very well. But he's been not in the best health before Christmas. I think he's still on the up. Mike Dixon, Patrick Winton with you throughout the tour. It's been a very interesting, Mike. I thought yesterday's sprints were fantastic, but what a change in the weather. Well, there you see the programme for the weekend, and we've got 10K for the women first up, then the 15K for the men a little bit later on today, starting at 1 o'clock UK time. We'll be on air just before that. And then, of course, the pursuits tomorrow. So today, crucial. It's twice as important as a normal mass start.
It is. The conditions, you mentioned them, they're difficult. And I think crucially today as well, the women's race on the track, they have an opportunity to pick up sprint bonus seconds, 15 for the win, 12. And then, of course, 15 to take the lead into the finish.
Well, these conditions certainly play into the hands of the weaker classic skiers. The good skiers are going to struggle to get away in these conditions, and that really is bad news for the likes of certainly Usberg, who's probably the outstanding classic skier. Jessie Diggins has done well in classic this year. Palmer Koski, fantastic in the traditional style. She'll be a bit disappointed that it's not fast and hard, but we'll see. We will see. Stadlober as well of Austria. She's got some ground to make up, over 2 minutes behind the tour leaders at the moment. Welcome back to the Tour de Ski, and just waiting for the start of the first round here in Oberstdorf. Started in Toblach, moved to Valmesterre for a sprint yesterday, which was a fantastic occasion. A bit disappointing in the Swiss performances, because when they do well, the crowd, those cowbells get going. They didn't have a lot of luck, it has to be said, and somewhat outclassed. But great demonstration of sprinting skills from Stina Nielsen to win her second successive sprint. And then, of course, with Jessie Diggins coming up behind. Jessie Diggins getting third, putting herself into the blue bib as the tour leader. How about that?
Brilliant. What a turnaround. Before Christmas, you could see she maybe wasn't enjoying her racing as much as she is now, and that's made a big difference. And of course, Sophie Caldwell alongside her, in fact, in front of her at the end. Yeah,
and Sadie Bjornsson going well. So the American girls having a fantastic run of form now, having started the season maybe 5% below the rest. Stina Nielsen, the winner, and comfortably so. Look at the margin here. She didn't have to break sweat going up that home straight, just as was the case in Toblach, the first sprint of the tour.
She's head and shoulders really above the rest. She can get rid of them at first point of asking, such as her new sprint Nielsen this season.
Now, Nielsen due to withdraw from the tour at the end of today, but she's a brilliant classic skier. We've seen that many times. I quite fancy her chances of taking the win, actually. And Mike, she's done well here before, so the course suits her. Just wondering, how do you think the softer conditions suit the bigger skier?
It's going to be difficult. Nobody will want to lead in these temperatures, minus 1.4 the air, but obviously around zero, so wet conditions. What I think's the big issue, Patrick, it was dry snow earlier, now it's wet snow, so what they prepared in the skis earlier may not work as well now.
Well, here's the profile, and a series of small hills until they get towards the end of the 2.5 kilometre loop, and then a much bigger climb, which really will sort out the weaker skiers, and then a long descent down into the finish. So if it's a race for the line, those with the best skis are going to win, and that's so important. The ski choice in these conditions, the base choice, so crucial, so difficult, and I think it favours the Europeans because they have many more days like this than they do in Russia or Norway.
Quite possibly, and the Norwegians, many people commenting on skis, especially in the men's race, maybe not gliding as well in Toblach, where it was machine snow around 0 degrees. Certainly that was a debate going on.
Yeah, sort of cast my mind back to Sochi, where the Norwegians just couldn't get the wax right, having spent more on their waxing preparation than most teams spent on the years training for their athletes.
But I mean, that puts it into perspective, the importance of trying to get the blend right. And it's difficult here. The high point of the track, it will be a half a degree, 1 degree difference to the low point of the course. So your technicians are crucial in these difficult conditions today.
Yeah, I think always the cheapest way is just to go into the local sports shop and ask the guy behind the counter. They tend to know what works on their own snow. And I think that makes it a very interesting race. But I still think, Mike, it's a bit of a blow for the really good classic skiers. You know, your Palmer-Koskis, your Caldwells, Usberg certainly. They would have been hoping to claw back 30, 40 seconds today. Is it going to happen in these conditions? The one saving grace for them is that it's 4 times round a 2.5 kilometre loop. So after the first route, provided the snow doesn't get heavier, it's not going to be too bad. But you certainly don't want to be leading the first 2.5. Yeah, someone's got to do it.
We saw Usberg there. She's probably wanting to. Neprieva, they'll be maybe working as a team, the Russians.
Neprieva, third in the world in the Tour de Ski at the moment. 1 win to her name. Alongside her, a teammate, Belarukova. They're both 23. They've both had a win. And of course, Belarukova, the bronze medal in the Olympic sprint event out in Pyeongchang. But can Stina Nielsen make it 2 wins in succession and 3 wins on the tour so far this year? I think it's a possibility. There's last year's champion, Heidi Weng, languishing down in 13th place in the Tour de Ski, 1 minute 35 off the leaders. This perhaps her last chance to make a bid to retain the title from last year. She's going to have to work hard early on. This was a very interesting race last year, Mike, although the mass start was in the freestyle technique. And Stina Nielsen, is it going out front early on? She's not going to hang around.
Well, I suppose Stina, with her top-class sprinting, although after yesterday she's got to feel that in her legs, she'll want to try and hoover up those 15 bonus seconds, but it's not this time round, it's the next time round, this 2.5 kilometre track. Give us a good chance now to see how the skis are working. Look how much slower it is at the front, because those in 10th position are having to stand tall.
Usberg, who led much of the way in this race last year, has had a pretty good season. In the classic race in Lillehammer, she was beaten by both Johaug and Andersen. Neither of them are here. In Ruka, Usberg was beaten by Johaug, Kalla, Andersen again. None of them are here. So you could say that Usberg is the best classic skier in the field. She's wearing 2. She's only 1.1 seconds off the lead of the Tour de Ski. If she wants to win the Tour this year, today is a day to open up a gap of 30 seconds over her rivals, because she is not the best climber on the Alpe d'Huez, and she knows it.
She knows it. That's a weakness. She admitted it even just before the race. Last year, she needed maybe a minute 15, a minute 20 lead going in. This corner, I remember last year with the different conditions, it was a lot more difficult last year, but we might still see some followers on this descent.
Well, we had a race cancelled here last year, the sprint event. The conditions were wild. We had similar visibility, similar snow, but we had wind blowing at 30 miles an hour. It was horrendous. The banners, the advertising banners going everywhere. And I think quite sensibly, they said it wasn't safe to race. Palmer-Koski on your right-hand side of your screen, just making her first move. Today's a day for her, Mike. Lying 7th in the Tour, but wearing bib number 6 because we have a withdrawal. Just checking, it's Ingmar's daughter who's come out from the top 5 incidentally. And Sophie Caldwell of USA also pulling out, so people have shifted position. But Palmer-Koski goes up front, and I think Usberg will be delighted to see that. And I'm very surprised to see that 7-8 metre gap opening up between the front 2 and Jessie Diggins.
Faller further back there, Patrick. Didn't see what happened. I think it was a German suit. Didn't manage to see which German athlete it was. And I think we should see, maybe especially Katharina Hennig from Germany, providing or giving us a better result today. At home, this is where she trains.
Nepraeva and Belarukova of Russia in 3 and 4, sensing the danger of having Krista Palmakoski out front. I think if Palmakoski and Usberg want to shake off the Russians, Mike, they're going to have to team up. They're going to have to share the lead, switching every 500 or 600 metres. Otherwise, the two Russians will find it too easy to sit in behind.
They're doing just that now, and they're not wanting to take any of the hard work up the front on at the moment. And I think that's an economical way to run this 10 kilometres.
Going through is Victoria Carl. In fact, that looked more like one of the Americans. We'll try and pick up on that a little bit later on. Because of the withdrawals at the last moment, there have been a few changes in number. Was that Stina Nielsen going down? That might well have been, and that pushes her, what, 15, 20 seconds further back. Lots of soft snow out there, difficult conditions, but the front four are okay. It can't have been Stina Nielsen, because Nielsen's still there, but it was certainly the Swedish suit that was on the ground.
And noticing, if you're off the beaten track here, going wide, your skis can clog up on the drier snow that's outside the tracks. We saw that on the downhill section where there were some fallers.
I'm just wondering whether Usberg, who's in second place at the moment, Mike, whether she said, OK, I'll sit in behind. Look at this. Those behind are just having to slow themselves down. Otherwise, they're going to be straight up the back of those leading their way down. The soft snow, the fresh snow in the tracks, some 2–3% slower than the compressed track, which by the back of the field is quite glazed. So on the fastest downhill on this course, we could see a bit more trouble.
And look at this, it's after just 5 minutes of racing. Normally we have a larger spread, but all 58 starters there within, what, 15 seconds?
Well, there you see Usberg straight up behind Palmakoski. She's quite entitled just to hold the baskets of the poles in front, just to make sure that she doesn't run up into the ski boot. You don't actually want your ski to go over the back of someone else's, because your technician has spent many hours preparing it lovingly just for your advantage. I'm just wondering whether the leaders will say, OK, might as well take the first 2.5 steady, then you can start to work, because it's pretty much the same for everyone.
And you know what? Now that it's completely stopped snowing, the second time round the tracks are going to be pressed down from all the athletes having skied round once. So I think we will see a turn of pace after the first rotation of 2.5.
Well, we'll try and remember to take a time split after the first lap and see how much quicker, if any, the second lap is. So Usberg leading. Right behind her is Nepraeva. Belarukova of Russia just dropping back a couple of places. Palmakoski sitting in third at the moment. That was the start of the classic zone. Coming off a corner. You're allowed to step around the corner, but once into the climb.
Well, everybody skis. They're allowing the freedom of the foot to slide up the hill. Sometimes the clogging, the wax or the grip, or some are going on zero skis, they can clog up, but everybody looking okay coming up this hill.
Usberg is a front runner. We saw that in the sprint yesterday. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Tyrrell Udnesveng is up there in second place alongside a teammate. Heidi Weng has moved up into the top 6. Feindrich of Switzerland going well. Sedova, who is an outsider for a good result today, outside the top 10 at the moment. Lotta Udnesveng down in 17. We've got Eriksson in 23. Ida just behind... was that Diggins? I don't think Diggins is that far back. And one or two of the athletes having problems with the wax, as predicted. If you go too soft, you are going to clog on the colder parts of the course. And that is exactly what's happened. Two of the Slovenians with issues. And that's certainly sorting the skiers out. Back down into the stadium. The first of 4 laps just about completed. And it's only going to be a little over 8 minutes to do those 2.5K in these conditions. That is still pretty quick, but I wouldn't be surprised if we get a negative split for the second lap. So 8:12. What do you think, Mike? An 8-minute lap or under that for the second time round?
You know, I think it's going to be as positive as about a 6-minute second lap, maybe 6 minutes 15. It's going to be that much difference now that it's been pressed down once. And look how glazed it is. You can see the glazing effect, the icing on top of within the track, and that's going to make it a lot faster second time.
So you're going for a 6 minute, a 25% improvement? Surely not. I'll go for 7:45. We'll work out the split times on those predictions, but I think you're absolutely right. It will be quicker, and it's going to be interesting to see whether those up front decide to stretch it out. Still Usberg leading, and Tyrrell Udnesveng sitting in second place at the moment. Up the big climb again. Have a look at those who are having to go into the soft snow to get the grip. The Norwegians all having to do that. The Russians staying comfortably in the tracks, and the Russians are there in numbers. Nepraeva looking good. Belarukova is still there, and also going well is Sedova, wearing number 8. Who's, yeah, she's looking quite good at the moment, Mike. She's shown herself in the classic races this year already, but I still think the freestyle is her better option.
Yes, so far so good. Of course, the pace picking up now, Patrick, with the bonus sprints coming up on the big climb. So all of the main contenders have now worked their way to the top. You can see the gap there in the background.
And instead of winning points, you win seconds. A 15-second bonus for the first through the split point with the men's race. 2 bonus sprints before they get to the finish. So it can play a crucial part in the Tour de Ski. Do you think the bonus, do you think it's a good thing to have the bonuses, Mike?
I think it is. You have to, and what it ensures is that the race isn't tactical or a slow pace, so it gives more exciting for us. It makes it more exciting for us watching. And I think it shows your prowess. You have to be so good and on the ball at all times. So I think it is a good thing. Keeps the race sharp.
Well, a big gap. We got, what, 10 athletes in that front group, and then a big gap back to the rest. Slightly surprised to see Jakobsen and Lotte Udnesveng off the pace at the moment. Delphine Claudel in the back of the second group as well. And suddenly, instead of a group, we've got a long file, again being led by Usberg, but she cannot shake off those behind her. And she's got to think very carefully here, Mike, because they'll be quite happy to see her do all the work. Usberg has got to put in a burst. She's got to try and break that contact if she wants to build herself a margin. She lies second in the Tour, 1.1 seconds behind Jessie Diggins. I haven't seen Diggins for a while, Mike. Usually identified obviously by the American suit, but also by the ponytail.
Yes, I do wonder, is it their skis? I think it must be. The pace has picked up since the first 2.5 passage, but normally we'd see Jess Diggins up front here. She's not.
So we've got lots of Norwegians in that leading group. Number 40, is that one of the French athletes going through? I think it may well have been Chamois Matral. It'd be amazing. Or Févrant Pisson, who's wearing bib number 40 at the back of that leading group.
So it's going to pump up into a maximum sprint very soon. Usberg dictating. She really wants this today. She wants the overall Tour.
And good move by Heidi Weng, Mike. She took advantage of that first lap, moving up the order as well. Heidi Weng wearing 11. She's into second place, as you can see. Nepraeva still behind her. Belarukova wearing 4. Parmakoski on the far side wearing 6. So the big names are starting to show their strength. We're still only on the second lap. Now, we thought... well, Mike thought 14:12 for the time at the completion of 5K, 2 laps. My prediction was at 16 minutes, but I'm now a bit worried that Mike's going to be a lot closer than I am.
I think so. I think so. It's a lot faster. We'll have to wait and see. But the pace is going to pump up now. You can see Usberg picking it up. She wants those points. Picton Favre, good skis, and that's a good battle for her to come from so far back to work her way into this top 10.
Trying to close the gap is Kari Øyreschlind of Norway, wearing 15, once again having to come out of the tracks. Tiril Utnesveng was up with the leaders for the first lap, but then as soon as the pace picked up, just found it a little bit too tough to stay with. Nice to see Jakobsen, who's here, Mike. She had success in the World Championships here back in 2005, winning the sprint event as a youngster. And you know, she's had ups and downs. She's had lots of misfortune, illness, celiac disease, I believe. Once they diagnosed that, her racing came back to form. And then the tragedy with her brother when she was out at the Olympics in Sochi. So it's been a difficult career in many ways for Jakobsen, but she's always there or thereabouts.
It's so good to see her in the running. It absolutely is. And of course the pace is picking up. You mentioned Parma Koski, of course. She's taking the bonus 15 here. Interestingly, she's had 6 podiums, finishes in the Tour de Ski, but never a win, never a stage win.
What do you think the reason for Nielsen not being in the front group, Mike?
Do you know what? I think yesterday you can see her skis as well. Look, the right ski is balling up. It's not allowing any slide forward. She's basically having to... There it is. There's it ices. It's solid ice underneath. No glide factor. And that'll be the case for many of these chasing the lead.
Yeah, the only advantage of that is you ski about 3 inches taller than you actually are.
It's horrible.
It's a horrible, horrible feeling, and the ski does not glide at all. You actually end up running around the course. Any quick solution? Often you need to ski over someone else's ski to scrape the ice off.
Or even at the top of a rise, so that you're not losing too much time. Cross your skis over and rub them. Done that many times.
Yeah, but in a race like this, you're then going to find yourself 20 meters off the lead, and your chance of winning has gone. Might have been worthwhile, Mike, surviving the first lap. They all knew it was going to get glazed. Survived the first lap with virtually no wax, and then see what happens on the second. But you can't afford to go soft and get that balling up effect, which we've seen from a number of the athletes. Swedes certainly seem to be suffering from it. They're not featuring the front. There's Jessie Diggins. Has she got similar problems?
Come on,
trying to make
Diggins.
up ground.
Oh, and do you know what? I honestly think those who made the final yesterday, Patrick, in the sprint, it was a much longer sprint than normal for the women. It was over 3.5 minutes. Normally it's 2:35. So they had a tough journey yesterday in comparison to, say, Davos before Christmas and Toblach the first day of racing.
Yeah, that could certainly explain why Nielsen and Diggins are struggling. They were both in the final, but so was Usberg in the final yesterday. She finished in 4th position, picked up some valuable seconds. Parma Koski, on the other hand, I don't think she even made it. Yes, she did make it. She got knocked out in the first round, so she did 2 laps of the 1.3 course. Slightly
fresher legs. Well, look at this. It's a definite breakaway group here. Pace is still strong after the sprint. Well, now into the 3rd rotation of 4.
But lots of the main players are there. The most noticeable absentee from the lead group is Jessie Diggins of the United States, the Tour leader at the start of today. Unless she does something miraculous, she's going to lose the bib as the Tour leader, and it could be going to either Usberg, it could go to Nepraeva. She's only 15 seconds off the lead. Lots of bonus seconds available. Belarukova is close enough to take the lead. Stina Nielsen, well, it doesn't look as though she's going to do it. She's really struggling with the skis, and you can see the margin. It's now over 200 meters between the front of the front group and the back of the second group.
It's almost cruel when your skis are not running equal, and it hasn't given any possibility at all for Stina Nielsen to show what she can do in sprinting. She's out of it today.
First sign of weakness as they come up towards the bonus sprint. 15 seconds in hand here. Usberg's going for it. Parma Koski wants a taste of it as well. And Nepraeva in 3rd, trying to get in on the money. A 5-second bonus would be very good, but she's starting to struggle for grip. Usberg coming out, very, very quick skiing. Now, when you put in a burst like this, it makes the rest of the course very tough indeed. 5.8 kilometers completed. Usberg with 15 valuable seconds makes her odds on to be the Tour leader at the end of today, but she's got to keep the pace that she's set so far. Belarukova 5.5 behind. Sadova might, with, you know, I know you sort of sensed it might be her day. 6 seconds down.
Struggling. I saw her struggling and slipping up this rise. So was Nepraeva, Belarukova as well. So the Russian skis, their strength is powering them up these climbs. Well, there's Sadie Björnsson. just coming over now. Her wax isn't working well. Stina Nielsen going through a world of discomfort with those skis.
Yeah, she'll be happy to retire from the tour at the end of today. There are so many struggling. Some don't have any grip, some have too much. It's an absolute nightmare. But zero conditions and snowing always produces interesting conditions for the technicians. Usbergs have done a great job. Welcome back to Oberstdorf. We're well into the women's 10-kilometre, and what a battle we've got. Those pictures of von Siebenthal of Switzerland, a fine demonstration of how difficult it is to get the right skis. It's not really a laughing matter if you're an athlete out there, but having been through these situations many times, Mike, you know exactly what is going on in their head.
Do you know what, Patrick? When people are watching this, and if you haven't done much cross-country skiing, the money that is spent on waxing and employing 7 wax technicians to get the skis right, it shows how difficult it is today when only 20% or less of the field have got skis that are okay. The rest are struggling. Yeah, it's so difficult. And now the snow coming on again.
I was going to say, look at the size of the snowflakes. That is not good news for the leading group. They deserve a bit more luck than that. But having done the work to drop all but 3, Usberg now has to struggle in front. And she's got to hope that one of the other 4 in that group is prepared to do some leading, and already those who were dropped are starting to make contact again.
They're coming back in, and I think pre the race starting, the conditions, it was snowing very heavy, very dry snow, and then it turned into wet snow. So the technicians have done their best, but a lot of them had made mistakes.
Now, we haven't mentioned number 18, Teresa Stadlober. Wouldn't it be great should she get a win here?
Ah, very much, and she deserves that with her bad luck at the Olympics. Took a wrong turning with a medal almost round her neck.
22 minutes on the clock. They've gone through the 5.8. The next split point we'll get is 6.9. Incidentally, the time at 5 kilometres, 16 minutes and 19 seconds. They were only 5 seconds quicker than the first lap, Mike.
Well, I'm going to look at it again, and I think that where they did the math start from was less distance the first time around. I'm going to try and find something.
You're not going to find 2 minutes, no chance. And I'm not sure this third lap's going to be any quicker at all. There's a break coming in, and Natalia Nepraeva looks full of running at the moment as they come up towards 6.9. Looks as though she's put in a burst for some bonus seconds, but no one's told her there are no bonus seconds this time round.
Not here. And I think it's really just the strongest of the strong who can just push their way through these difficult conditions.
Heidi Weng stomping her way up. Looks as though her skis have stopped working too well. Is Jessie Diggins on a comeback? Last time we saw, she was outside the top 10, almost 30 seconds behind, and I don't think she's closed the gap too significantly. Some are almost in the woods looking for an area where they can get some grip.
I really feel for Jess Diggins. You know, this was a day where she could have stayed with the front, no problem. Look at Stina Nielsen slapping the skis down to try and break the ice.
Yeah, last time round it was the right ski. She doesn't really know what to do, Mike. It's so seldom that her technicians get it wrong. Those who wax their own skis know exactly what movement gets the ice off. It is tricky.
It is very tricky. And I suspect that up the front, well, not up the front anymore, but Usberg, yes, she's there. I suspect she's just on 0 skis with silicone sprayed over. They're slower in terms of glide, but it's a safer bet overall.
Nepraeva quite happy to tuck in behind. 1 lap to go, and again Usberg becomes the target skier. I'm not sure this is the brightest way to race a race like this, Mike. She's strong. She needed to save something for the final lap. I think she set herself up for a good thrashing from Nepraeva on the last lap, and Nepraeva's skis look pretty quick on the way down. You know, so yeah. The Russians, I think, will probably be happy that they're going to get 2 more on the podium, having taken 2 of the 3 in Toblach a couple of days ago.
What's surprising me, Bela Rukova just dropping off. Was it the lack of ski speed on the descent? She's 7.5 behind with 1 lap to go. Sedova almost touching a podium, just 4.6 seconds behind.
Stadlover at 8.2, Weng is 10.1, so it doesn't look as though it's going to be Heidi Weng's day. Number 7 going through, Sadie Björnsson. Björnsson lying in 15th at the moment, but 50 seconds given away to the leaders. She started today 1 minute 19, so she could well be over 2 minutes behind the leaders of the tour at the end of today. This stage is always so critical, and remember that today's result determines the start of the pursuit tomorrow. Good double polling speed from Usberg. Nepraeva, number 3, with only 1 win to her name. That came in the sprint event.
Interesting, Patrick, there as well. Usberg's skis are not perfect. She had to try and break the ice on her skis as well. Nepraeva's skis not perfect. Nobody's skis are perfect today. It's just some are gliding that little bit better and not icing up. And I think those two at the front are quite lucky with the way their skis are running. There's Sedova making her way up into 3rd.
We have seen a remarkable turnaround in form from the Russians, Mike. Which of the Russians do you think is going to be the quickest on the Alpe Chemise? Should they still be in contention at that stage?
But you know, watching Nepraeva yesterday and Belarukova, they're very strong when it came to the skating, especially up the steep climb. I know that's not a window of getting the best survey for 18 minutes direct skate 1 up a alpine slope, but they will be strong, we can guarantee that.
Sedova 10-1 to get on the podium at the start of today. Looks as though she may well achieve that. There's Stadlova still in there, just tucked in behind Belarukova. Heidi Weng seems to have found a little more energy, but she's run her way pretty much around this course. That right ski is not gliding at all. She's going to lose out on the next downhill section.
Very much. I've just heard, Patrick, that yesterday in that fall from Heidi Weng leading into the home straight, she really twisted her thumb, so a sprained thumb bandaged up today. I think she's doing so well. It's in pain.
Hey, if there's one bit of the body you can afford to hurt when you're a skier, it's your thumb.
That's true, and sometimes when you've got some pain going on in your body, it's a distraction to all the other pains, and maybe that's why she's having a great day today.
Good work from Usberg on the flat section. Has a look over to her coaches on the right, who tell her exactly what the situation is. And Usberg needs every second she can gain. She's already picked up the 15 bonus seconds for the sprint, and that was important. And the fact that Parmakoski got in between her and the Russians really does help Usberg's cause. I think it's still looking as though she may be the leader of the Tour at the end of today, but Nepraeva only 14 seconds adrift of Usberg at the start of today. So if she puts on a burst, picks up the maximum bonus seconds across the finish line, it could well be the Russian.
Yes, it could be, and that is a big bonus to cross that line first, to pick up 15. Second place gets 10 bonus seconds. Third place, 5. There's a breakaway from Usberg. She wants clear space before the climb.
All credit to Usberg, Mike. She has grafted from the start of this race. I still think the tactics would have been better to say, OK, nothing's going to happen for 2 laps, then I'll put in the effort. And she might have been in a stronger position, but she's got herself 10 metres. It's the double poling sections where she's doing so well.
Absolutely. I really feel for Jess Diggins for the first time in her career leading the overall World Cup. But she's 39 seconds off the pace in 9th position now, and really that's largely through those skis that aren't working well under her feet.
Usberg dances her way round that left-hand corner, takes the lead from 10 metres to closer to 15, and now the 2 Russians working side by side, Nepraeva and Sedova, and they're not out of it by any means. If they get a good run down the final downhill, it could well go their way. They're past the 8.3 kilometre stage, and we'll get a split at 9.4. And then, of course, from 9.4, it's just 600 metres back to the stadium. Remember, from the course profile, the last 450 metres or so, pretty much downhill.
Belarukova at 8.3, she's 13.8 behind, and the gaps are opening up now, further back.
One time up the big climb, where we've seen Nielsen struggling on a couple of occasions, Heidi Weng having to go into the bushes to find enough grip for her skis. Usberg's chance, if she's at 20 metres clear at the top of that final climb, surely she's going to wrap up the win here and take her total to 12 World Cup wins.
Tomorrow, of course, it's a pursuit competition over 10 kilometres in the women's field, so they'll start tomorrow with the bonus seconds they've picked up today. That leaves Usberg way out front.
Well, the Russians closing over the last few metres, and this might be their chance. I tell you what, Nepraeva looking very, very light on her feet, and the Russians have got better grip on the uphill. So it's going to come down to the run into the stadium. I expect the top 3 are going to be level going over the top of this climb.
Usberg knew that. She knew that the Russians are climbing much better. Their grip, their wax is a little better on the uphill. That's why Usberg tried to get a 10-second lead into the base of the hill. She hasn't won it yet.
Can she shake off the Russians on the descent? It's still still number 3, Natalia Nepraeva, 23-year-old, who got the win in the sprint event in Toblach, and she goes ahead for the first time. Now we're going to find out what Usberg is made of. The last few meters of uphill, she needs to survive this if she's going to take the win here. Sadova's not out of it either, Mike, and coming up well is Jakobsen of Norway, who's only some 10 meters off the leaders at the moment.
There's a chase from behind. I think the brutal strength of Nepraeva just attacking, hacking her way up this hill. Is it going to be up enough? I don't think she'll have the best glide on the descent.
Good tactics from Nepraeva, first back into the tracks, which forces Usberg to drop back if she wants to get into the tracks. There goes number 9, which is Jakobsen. Just behind her, Parmakoski, who featured early on. Belarukova back in 4. Stadlober of Austria hunched over. That's not a classic technique at all, but the waxing conditions determining how they ski today.
Heidi Weng just absolutely focused. Short strides, the wax isn't great. Oh well, this is, I would prefer to be in second place than first, and I do think Usberg's skis are much faster.
And we know that Usberg has a very good double pole. She looks to the left, but gets cut off by the Russian as they come into the closing stages. Now Usberg has to make a move. She's running out of time. And Nepraeva with some strong double poling. It could well be her second win, but Usberg thinks otherwise. Usberg looking for a 12th World Cup win, and she ups the pace, shows her better ski glide as she comes into the last 25 meters. Russia and Norway neck and neck. It's going to be Usberg, the lunge determining photo finish. But the celebration from Usberg indicates that she knows she's got the win here in Oberstdorf. And I have to say, Mike, having done all the donkey work, she deserved it. But what a fascinating battle between the technicians.
The battle was, of course, between the athletes, but with, well, of course, with Nepraeva having better grip on the uphill, she took advantage of that. And what a pity for Nepraeva. She just lost it in the last meter.
What a race. What a race. 50 World Cup points and the lead in the Tour de Ski going to Usberg. What I like about Usberg, Mike, is the fact that she enjoys her racing, and she really enjoys a battle like that. Not once does she push. She must have put in, you know, extra effort on 4 or 5 occasions just to make sure that she was controlling things.
Very much. Jess Diggins ending up just under the minute behind, and I think that's great credit to her absolute mind strength, because, let's be honest, the skis weren't great.
Björnsson dropping places and time as well in the Tour de Ski, 105 behind, and she started today at a margin of 119, so she's going to be almost 2.5 minutes behind at the end of the day. 15 bonus seconds as well to Usberg, puts her in a good position for the pursuit tomorrow.
Very much, and as expected, Usberg's skis were the zero skis. They worked. They weren't great, but they worked better than most.
That's a brave decision to go for glide rather than grip on a day like this.
Very risky, but she, you know, and she was brutally fearless to take the lead for most of that race, as she said. She absolutely deserved the win. Be interesting to hear what she says, and I hope we get that.
Parmakoski, who ended up down in 5th position, 15 seconds down. She's still in a good position, Parmakoski. Finished 4th in the Tour last year, and she's 3rd overall in the World Cup. But there's your champion for today, Ingvild Usberg, and looking very comfortable. Comes from Gjøvik, which is just outside Hammer, which is, of course, just down the road from Lillehammer. So she'll do a lot of her training up at Sjusjøen. Beautiful area up there. But once again, Mike, 2 Russians on the podium, just as we had in Toblach, 2 Russians and a Norwegian.
Distance races, endurance races, give them a tough day, and they float to the top. Sedova, very impressive once again. She missed a couple of the World Cups early season, but scoring great points now.
And 2 nations that we've talked a lot about this year, not in the top 10, Sweden and USA.
Yes, and I think, truthfully, that's got to be there. As you say, Jess Diggins just outside the top 10, 11th. And it wasn't a great day for Stina Nielsen.
Well, I'm looking forward to the interview at the end, and hopefully we'll get that in the next couple of minutes. These are the closing meters. 30 meters to go at this stage, and Usberg just getting her foot in front. She timed that charge to perfection. And as you said, Mike, probably an advantage to be in second place coming into the home straight.
I think so, because Usberg kind of rested up and stayed so long in behind Nepreva, knowing that going into the deeper snow, it was going to be slower. She carried the momentum.
She rested up, but she did the donkey work for 9,500 meters of a 10K race.
She deserved that win so much.
Yeah,
totally fearless.
I feel that way as well, and all credit to Nepreva. She played a very, very clever game indeed, but in the end, outdone by the fact that her ski glide was not as quick. But she got an easy ride on the uphills. You win some, you lose some.
Yeah, balances out. Two very happy Russian athletes once again.
Freestyle tomorrow, and more of the same from Usberg could put her in a good position. But I think those two young Russians look good for the Alpe Chemise. I don't think it will scare them at all.
It won't, and tomorrow is their cup of tea as well. It's a freestyle, it's 10 kilometers. They'll be starting with the seconds they are behind Usberg today. I think that in the end, Stina Nielsen did very well. She managed to fight her way back to 10th place, but 56 seconds behind.
So the same three ladies on the podium here as we had in the 10K in Toblach, just in a slightly different order. Usberg, who was beaten by 0.3 of a second in Toblach, today gets the better of Nepreva by 0.1, and Sedova on the podium for the second distance race in succession.
It's impressive, a very impressive post-Christmas performance from Sedova.
Jakobsen did really well, 12.9 down.
Yeah, and the yellow card that you see opposite Jakobsen and Permakoski, they're from past races. They hold these yellow cards.
Jessie Diggins, one day as the Tour leader. There aren't many people who can say that, but she's lost over a minute in all today when you add up the bonus seconds that she didn't get a share of. Slin just behind Diggins, further down, any other big names missing out. Feindrich, we would expect her to be in the top 15, but down in 28th today, 150 behind. We saw her having problems with the skis early on, as did von Siebenthal. So the Swiss need to look at their waxing. Tomorrow, they'll be glad that it's just glide wax, not stick wax required.
Do you know what a very good indicator is? Look what Usberg had on today, and hopefully they've seen that from our pictures. They know what skis she used, and the technicians will be going out and testing them right now, because those who didn't use them last time, they will think in the men's race coming up soon, that's the way we want to go.
Well, we saw Sumskar taking a fall earlier on. Actually, we didn't, because she didn't start. Sarpunki of Finland dropping out. Mari Ida of Norway dropping out. I suspect, again, that will be the skis. And von Siebenthal, who we saw struggling, didn't have any grip at all. She finished down in 40th position. But the star of the day, without a doubt, Ingvild Usberg gets herself back into the top position in the Tour. And that's exactly where she was at this stage last year.
Slightly happier this time, in the sense that Heidi Weng
is not so much of a danger.
They had this battle every single day. Of course, it's not Heidi Weng this year. It's Nepreva and Sedova.
Heidi Weng some 21 seconds off, Mike. So when we see the standings in the Tour, Usberg 24 seconds clear of Nepreva, Belarukova at 110, Jessie Diggins now 126, Palmakoski you can see 129, Sedova moving up the rankings but still 147 behind, and Heidi Weng at 224. I think Weng will think she could probably catch 2 minutes on Usberg on her best form, but not on the form she's in at the moment.
No, and I think in a sense those incredible big gaps at the top of the field, it's been a little unfortunate where the preparation of the skis were incredibly difficult, but have played a huge factor today. For me, it's a pity that there's now a skewer. It's imbalanced a little bit, but credit to those who get it right.
Well, the Russians had obviously 2 in the top 3. They had 3 in the top 6, so they made a very different decision to the Norwegians, but they got it right. And the Norwegians with 2 in the top 4, we have to assume they got it right as well.
Yes, or they didn't get it badly wrong. We saw Stina Nielsen on skis that were badly not working, and Jess Diggins 11th and Sadie Björnsson 15th. They really had to fight their way through today.
So Oberstdorf producing yet more interesting racing. I'm trying to think back to 1987, the World Championships down here. Can you remember
I just remember some of the winners, but I don't think there were any horrific condition days.
Yeah, it was. No, I don't think it was difficult. I think we had a fair amount of sunshine. Thomas Wasberg was at the height of his powers. Marco Albarello coming through for the Italians, getting a win, I think, in the 15K. All sorts of good racing on that occasion.
And of course the Russians, women's field especially, was at its best in the 80s, well, early 80s, late 80s.
Well, there we have the overall World Cup standings, and Usberg is into the yellow bib, finally going ahead of Therese Johaug, who is not competing on the tour. Only 2 points between them. Johaug's run at the start of the season, absolutely astonishing. 600 points from 6 races, if you take away the one sprint where she didn't qualify for the final stages. Therese Stadlober moving up the order with a good run today. Didn't look pretty, to be honest, but only 18 seconds or so off the leaders. Usberg is the winner ahead of Neprayeva and Sadova. Misty and snowy, and I think there'll be a few nervous men around. Their race starting at 12, just before, I think actually it's going to be 1 o'clock UK time. We'll be on air just after 12:45, and we'll do our best to assess the wax conditions and what sort of mayhem we're going to see out there.
One guarantee, Patrick, the wax technicians will be frantic in this next 1 hour and 15 minutes.
Sadova, 3rd place for the second successive distance race, and her odds were 10-1 to get into the top 3. I think the bookies missed something there. Neprayeva, 2nd, having won in Toblach in the 10K there. So her distance racing has come on leaps and bounds. She was over 2 minutes behind when we raced in Lillehammer before Christmas. That's quite a transformation. But the champion, and deservedly so, the Norwegian Ingvild Østberg, with some great racing. Did she do it right as far as you were concerned, Mike, or do you think she could have raced a little more intelligently?
I think she did. She hurt everybody. She's very good in classic. She's got the engine. She filtered the field, and then she was wise to the end. She was worried that Neprayeva had the best line in, but she stayed in behind her, and just, what, 40 meters to go, decided to break free.
And with Johaug, Kalle and Anderson all missing from the Tour de Ski, it was Østberg's chance, and she took it with this final sprint, getting the lead with about half a metre to go. Brilliant racing from Østberg, and it puts her to the top of the Tour de Ski standings, and she can now put her feet up and watch the men's 15-kilometre later on today, just over an hour's time before it starts.
Do you know, just watching those pictures again, Patrick, Neprayeva's coaches may be saying, listen, we need to practice the lunge to the line because she didn't get it right. She wasn't able to extend the leg anywhere near that of Østberg. Look at her skis, the zero skis where the base is just roughened up a little. That's enough to give grip in these conditions.
Well, there's the racetrack, not particularly hard under normal circumstances. Here is the winner.
That was a very tough race. How was it out there? How did your skis go?
Yeah, it was for sure a really tough race, and when we saw it was snowing, we knew it would be hard to be in front. But I just had to try, and I think I just had to work and work and work, and maybe then people would like fall off one by one, and the Russians were really strong, especially in the last uphill. But today I decided just to give it all, and in the last 100 meters I just had to try, and it was incredible feeling to cross the finish line first. Yeah, it was really fun.
And with this race today, you became the new overall leader of the Tour de Ski. What does that mean to you, and what does that mean for the further races?
Yeah, for sure, that's really fun, and to be in the lead of the Tour de Ski, I've been it before, and it's always fun, and I've been working hard for 4 stages now, but I know that a lot can happen in the next 3, so I just have to take race by race. But today I'm just really happy for my victory. So that's that's fun.
We wish you very strong legs for the rest of the tour. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Well, an interesting interview there with Østberg. she'd obviously decided she was going to work flat out from the start, Mike. The one thing that achieved was to create big margins at the finish. Without that, she wouldn't be in such a strong position in the Tour de Ski.
Yeah, strong decision. You've got to be a great athlete to take that on and achieve that exactly as she did today.
So she could have won it easier, but perhaps not doing the same damage to the masses on the back. There's von Siebenthal slipping her way backwards up the hill. Didn't go her way today. So there you see 1400. Obviously, it's 1 o'clock in UK for the start. We had some fallers early on, but the Norwegians will be delighted. They've got a win, and they now have the women's tour leader in Ingvild Østberg.